Hello creators, and welcome back. And welcome to our next guest reader episode. Today we have voice actor Neha Gargava. Here she is introducing herself.
Hi, my name is Neha Gargava. I'm a bilingual voice actor and a trained actor from India. I've been voicing happily for the past 15 years, and I've received a lot of appreciation and love for my work as the Hindi voice of Nala in Disney's Lion King and Mufasa, as She-Hulk in the series She-Hulk, as Catwoman in the movie Batman, and the most recent one being Evil Queen in Snow White that got released in 2025. Over the years, I've slid very, very deep into the world of words, and I experience firsthand at my work the impact of words, tone, and the shadow of emotions on human subconscious. It's very powerful. With this piece that I'm going to share with you on sleep and the various factors that are involved, I wish to connect with you and share a few lingering thoughts for you to sleep over. Literally, happy sleeping.
Neha will be reading us a really lovely article from the Isha Foundation all about getting a good night's sleep. You can follow Neha on social media through the links in the episode description. So, take a minute to get cozy and comfortable, and then drift off.
When we talk about sleep, we know about relaxation and breathing techniques and other unwinding methods to get to a good sleep. But have we ever heard about the effect of moon on our sleep? I have something very interesting to share with you. Cutting-edge medical research is exploring the effects of the moon on human beings, their sleep, mood, and mental health. Dr. Horacio, a leading researcher in this field, discusses the implication and gets a yogic perspective from Sadhguru. Dr. Horacio is a research associate and professor of biology at the University of Washington. And the conversation is anchored by Dr. David Waco, who's a professor of psychology at one of the hospitals at Harvard Medical School. At the beginning of the conversation, Dr. David Waco mentioned that Dr. Horacio recently wrote a research paper about the synchronization of human sleep with the moon cycle under different conditions. Dr. Horacio went on to share that there have been some studies from sleep laboratories in which they found an effect of the lunar cycle on the electroencephalographic recordings of sleep. He also mentioned that research tried to answer the question of whether sleep was modulated by moon phases at the individual level. And in fact, they found out that it did. Dr. David Wago questioned, is there something related to the mass of the two objects that is causing a change in human physiology? Dr. Horacio answered, it turns out that every 15 days, around the time of full moon and new moon, ocean tides are maximally high and maximally low because the sun, the moon, and the earth are aligned on the same axis on those days. The gravitational pull of the sun and the moon are added, and you experience maximally high daily tides. But so far, there is no evidence that humans can detect those changes in gravity. On the other hand, we do not have any other way to explain why, in a place where you have no ability to sense the moonlight, you can still respond to the cycle of the moon. That's what the research says. Does moon affect our sleep? Dr. Horacio says, what is interesting is that on the nights leading to the full moon, sleep starts later and it is shorter. The shortest sleep duration takes place 3 to 5 days before the full moon. Those are the nights in which moonlight is available at the end of the day, in the late evening, and early night. And if you think about the utility of moonlight in terms of our ancestors that were hunter-gatherers, it's much more useful to extend the daytime activity with the moonlight than wake up in the middle of the night by the effect of moonlight. In other words, if the moonlight comes out at 3 a.m., you are probably already fast asleep and you will not respond to it. It will not wake you up. However, if you are planning to go to bed around 8 p.m. in the evening and you suddenly see this bright source of light, you may actually stay up and continue whatever you are doing. And that is exactly what we do nowadays with our artificial light. We typically use it to extend the evening activity. We think that in a way, artificial light has tapped into its ancestral effect of the moon on our sleep. But going back to the question of gravity, the only explanation that we have so far is that probably this perception of gravity makes you more sensitive to the effect of evening light or of keeping you awake. Dr. David Vago asks, but the data is not clear, right? Dr. Horacio answered, no. So far, there is physiological data to show that humans respond to these gravity changes. Sun and moon in yoga. Dr. David Vago asks, Sadhguru, maybe you could provide some light from the yogic perspective. Clearly, there is a large history of descriptions of how the moon can influence our physiology. But there is no evidence from modern science to show specifically how the forces that brings two masses together can influence how our body and mind function. Sadhguru answers, if you look at it from the yogic perspective, one important arm of yoga is called Hatha Yoga. Ha means the sun, Tha means the moon. Hat means to bring balance between these two forces. The sun, the moon, and the earth have a significant influence on the making of life on this planet. The male population may be confused about it, but the female population has always been in sync with the cycles of the moon, and that is the basis of our birth right now. We do not see the moon as only having a gravitational impact on us. We see the moon as the basic element that holds the earth in its trajectory of revolution around the sun. Today, modern sciences are confirming that the moon as a satellite is moving away from the earth every year. When it moves beyond a certain point, its impact on the life on this planet will recede. Human reproductive cycles will go off the normal cycle, and human beings will slowly go away. But above all, if the moon goes away, which it is supposed to after a few billion years, the earth cannot hold its track and it will break into pieces. This is how the yogic system looks at it. Are the phases of the moon relevant for yogic practices? Sadhguru says, India largely uses the Hindu calendar. In some parts of the country where there is matriarchy, they use the lunar calendar. And wherever there is patriarchy, they use a lunisolar calendar, which is a combination of lunar and solar cycles. We are not looking at the calendar as just a numerical record of things, but in terms of how we experience it within ourselves and how the body responds to it at different times. Accordingly, various traditions, practices, and rituals were crafted so that you can make best use of the Earth's energy, trajectory, the direction its northern face pointed towards, and its closeness to the sun. All these aspects are taken into account for the sort of practices you do. One solar cycle is thought to be 4,356 days, and this cycle is segmented in different ways for different people. It is different for yogis, ascetics, householders, and other people who are into regular worldly life because their bodies are attuned in different ways and they need to function differently. The calendar is based upon the moon phases and the planet's position in relation to the sun. So what impact does the moon have on a daily basis? It is not just the moonlight. Today, people are talking in scientific terms about electrical charges, electromagnetic impact, and other aspects. Though I am not expert in that, but in the yogic system, we give a lot of significance to full moon and new moon days. On those days, there are different types of practices we do. Ascetics usually do practices on new moon days, while people in the family way of life do practices during full moon days because the impact is very different. We created a variety of devices at one time, for example, to expose your spine in a particular way to the moon on the full moon night. 3 full moon nights like that could completely reorganize your system from ill health to health. Does the moon affect your mood? Sadhguru says, in the mystical world, human perception and the moon are directly connected. Adi Yogi, the first yogi, wears a crescent moon upon his head like a jewel. This is to indicate that he's at the highest level of perception. In medical terms, we may see it as a certain level of neurological stimulus. In the evolutionary process of life, we are not the strongest creature on this planet, but we have the most complex and sophisticated neurological system. That is what really renders us on the top of pile. This neurological development is the most significant aspect of who we are and how stimulated, active, and balanced our neurological system is. It is directly related to the phases of the moon. There are many ways in which people can make use of it to handle their mental fluctuations. Many human beings go into tides within their system because the whole oceans are going up. Around 60% of our body is water, so there is fluctuation in the system. Does the full moon affect mental health? Sadhguru says, some studies say that on full moon days, people tend to become more imbalanced, or those who have anxiety and manic depression go out of control. The moon does not cause madness. It just pushes your energy in a certain way. If your quality is joy, you will become more joyful. If your quality is love, you will become more loving. If you are meditative, you will become more meditative. If you have a mental illness, that will also get enhanced. Whatever your quality is, gets enhanced because of the full moon. There are some more interesting facts about the impact of moon on human life, on spirituality, and mysticism. Let's take a dig into that. Sadhguru says, we have come to modern times where day or night, light is glaring in our eyes. Even if there is a full moon, I think most people who live in urban areas today do not even notice it. How can you miss a full moon? It is big enough and bright enough. Every phase of the moon, you can look up in the sky and notice it. Or if you bring a certain level of awareness and perception to your system, if you just observe your body, you will see for every phase, the body behaves slightly differently. It is very much there both in the male and the female body. But in the female body, it is more manifest. As you know, the fundamental reproductive process in a woman is very much connected to the moon's cycles. The timing with which the moon goes around the planet and the cycles that human beings themselves go through within themselves and the very process of human birth, the process of creating this body, are very deeply connected. The moon has a large influence on our daily life, which is why in the Eastern cultures, particularly in India, we drew 2 kinds of calendars. For mundane affairs, we have a solar calendar. For all the other subjective aspects of our life, which is not information or a technique, but a live thing, we have a lunar calendar. It has always been such that any aspect which is beyond the logical has always been connected to the moon. As one shifts from the calculations of the logical mind to intuitive ways of looking at life, the moon becomes more important. Generally, the influence of the moon is considered illogical. In the West, anything illogical got labeled as madness or insanity. In the English language, The moon is referred to as Lunar. If you take a step further, you come to a lunatic. But in the Eastern culture, we always saw the limitations of logic. There is a logical element to you which helps you to handle the material aspect of your life. But there is a dimension beyond logic, without which the subjective dimensions can never be accessed. Human perception is a reflection. If you see anything other than the reflection, that means you're not seeing the truth. Any perception is actually a reflection. The moon is also a reflection. You can see the moon because it reflects the sun's light. So the deeper perceptions of life have always been symbolized with the moon. Moonlight and mysticism have been very heavily connected everywhere in the world. To symbolize this connection, Shiva wore a piece of the moon on his head. His ornament is moon. The yogic sciences and yogic path were also structured like this. The initial few steps are 100% logical, but as you climb higher, it moves away from logic and goes into areas which are totally illogical. Logic has to be thrown away because that is the way of life, and creation is structured. So, moon becomes very important. This is the only way any science can happen. If you look at modern science, which is still in its infant stage actually, the same thing is happening. They were 100% logical to start with. After they took a few steps, now they are becoming slowly illogical. The physicists are almost talking like mystics. They are beginning to talk the same language because this is the only way it can go. Because that is the way the creation is. If you explore the creation, that is how it will be. Now, having talked about the moon and mysticism around sleep, it's time we also count in a few steps we could take to get good and sound sleep. Sadhguru looks at the role of sleep and the importance of sleeping in absolute relaxation, sharing 6 steps to help you find good sleep. He also speaks about the Shambhavi Mahamudra, which blurs the line between being asleep and awake. Do you find that one day morning when you get up, without any reason, you're just feeling ugly? If it is happening even 2 or 3 times a year, then you must do certain things before you go to bed. It is very important. You can unconsciously incubate a lot of either negative or positive things in sleep. You can incubate either pleasantness or unpleasantness in an uninterrupted way very effectively in sleep. You can also incubate it during the day, but there are so many interruptions that it does not happen very efficiently. But if you have a tendency to go to bed in a certain way and you wake up in the morning feeling really nasty for simply no reason, that means you are incubating bad eggs in the night very efficiently. This is not just about psychological disturbances. It can cause major physiological problems over a period of time. It is important that you eliminate these things from your life. So before you go to bed in the night, there are certain things that you need to take care of. Sleep is a state where you are on the edge between the world of sounds and the world of silence. But you can only move into the world of silence when you're aware. You can move through the world of sounds and forms unaware, but you cannot move into the world of silence, which is devoid of any vibration, devoid of any forms, in unawareness. Number 1, take a shower. Always shower before you go to bed. It will make a lot of difference. Maybe cold showers are difficult in cold weather, so take a lukewarm shower, but do not go for hot showers in the night. A cold shower will keep you alert. You will sleep 20 minutes or half an hour later, but you will sleep better because it will take away certain things. When you shower, it is not just the dirt on the skin that you are taking away. Have you noticed? If you are very tense and anxious, after taking a shower, you come out feeling almost like a burden has been taken away from you. It is not just about washing the skin. A whole lot of things can happen when the water flows over your body. Taking a shower is very rudimentary, bhut shuddhi, because over 70% of your body is actually water. If you run water over it, a certain purification happens which is beyond cleansing the skin. Number 2, don't sleep right after a meal. If you are eating meat and other kinds of meals, it is best to eat at least 3 to 4 hours before you go to bed so that the digestion is over. Before going to bed, drink a certain amount of water. You will see that it gets taken care of. Number 3, light a lamp. One more thing you can do is just light an organic oil lamp. Use a cotton wick. Do not use something else. You can use linseed oil, rice bran oil, sesame oil, olive oil, or any organic oil with a cotton wick. Just light one little lamp somewhere in the room where you sleep, and you will see that these things will completely disappear. Number 4, remember that time is running out. Keep this in your mind that you are truly immortal. Not just in words, really. Please be conscious of this. This is not to create fear or paranoia, but just to know the reality. If you know, I am truly mortal and my time is so limited, you will have no time to be angry, to quarrel with someone, or to do anything that does not really matter to you. If you are conscious of your mortality, you will do only what you truly care for in your life. Before you go to bed, sit on your bed with the thought that this is your deathbed and you could have just one more minute to live. Just look back and see what you've done today. Is it worthwhile? Just do this simple exercise. Reflect. Today, the way I've handled these 24 hours, is it worthwhile? Because now I'm dying. If you do this, you will live a worthwhile life. Number 5, do not head north. If you put your head to the north and sleep during the night in a horizontal position, then slowly the blood will get pulled towards your brain. When there is too much circulation in the brain, you cannot sleep peacefully. If you have any kind of inherently weak aspects in your brain, or if you are of old age, it could be fatal. One can have hemorrhage because extra blood is trying to enter the brain where the blood vessels are hair-like. Something extra is being pushed because of the magnetic pull of the planet. When you are in a vertical position, that is not so. The moment you become horizontal, this pull on the head is strong. This is true only in the northern hemisphere though. If you go to Australia, you should not put your head to the south. If you are in India, you should not put your head to the north. It is okay if you put it any other way. Number 6, keep things aside. Just do this before you go to bed. In the last 3 minutes, keep aside everything that you have gathered: the body, the content of the mind, and the small things. Do not ignore small things. These small things are big things. I've seen how people are carrying their own private pillow because it is very important. Your pillow, your footwear, if you have relationships, everything that you've gathered, keep it aside and sleep. If you manage to sleep like that, you will wake up with something else altogether different. You will wake up with much more light, energy, and possibilities than you have imagined possible. Just sleep as life, not as a man or a woman, not as this and that. Simply keep everything down. Sadhguru says, we've tried to bring this aspect into people's life in so many ways, starting with Shambhavi Mahamudra. Shambhavi means twilight. You are between day and night, night and day. Twilight means you are asleep, but you are awake.